Hey guys, welcome back to the Popcorn for Dinner podcast. We're back in the New Republic. I'm joined with my co-conspirator, Ebube. How are you?
I am guilty of nothing. I don't know why she's calling me a co-conspirator, but I plead the Fifth Amendment, or I don't
Perfect.
even know what the fifth, whatever amendment that they call it in this new order that they think they're. I don't know. It's all a sham. At least Dinjarin would say it's a sham. So, but yeah,
Jam.
I'm okay.
I mean, Palpatine's back.
Okay, you want to go down that route? Fine. I will give you your soapbox. Let's have it. Let's have it.
Do you know what? I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I've been in my head since I watched the episode. I'm like, do we like go through in sequence? Do we go through by big moments? And I was like, no, like let's get to what everyone wants to talk about, which is the New Republic and what Pershing, what the heck he was doing, what Miss Dang LSK was doing, and the fact that this whole setup, props to John Favreau, was to explain as to why Palpatine came back in that disaster of a film back in 2019 that we discussed how much we hated spending money on just in the last episode. So I'm gonna go straight into Pershing, right? What did you think when you saw him rehabilitated, mind wiped, in a desk job, giving lectures, and not doing the whole life saving thing he was trying to do to our little green guy? Like, what did you think when you saw him again?
The whole what do you say life saving thing?
Well, his life
Ah,
saving thing. It weren't life saving to me because you were hurting my boy, but
yeah, I was gonna say that man is guilty,
he's a sicko.
but uh, I think this is a really good example of how the show expands on the Star Wars world more than just physically. I think the amnesty program is a very interesting concept because, well, not just because of how good people feel it is for them, or the good that the quote unquote forgiven people feel like they're being given, but because of how subtly draconian and borderline dystopian it is. These people are being surveilled constantly. They were told they were being given amnesty, but the extent to which people trust them is dependent on their perceived value to society. Um, there's a good chance that this doctor is getting much better treatment than a lot of other people in the program because of his work, despite his heinous past. I mean, the fact that they have to put the word amnesty in front of their titles and names is practically Orwellian, and those periodic check-ins, you miss me with that. That's just a lot. So I don't know how I feel about the way that they're being quote unquote rehabilitated, and the fact that it's being referred to as rehabilitation. I do like that they are being given a second chance in any form, though. It's better than how the empire probably would have just unalived every single one of them one by one, or maybe all at the same time, depending on how they were feeling. And it's also very interesting that it's happening on Coruscant, but I'm guessing you have lots of thoughts on that.
It's not amnesty. It's not.
Good. I'm glad we agree.
I'm trying to not sound like a raging communist right now.
How are you going to end up being in the comment?
People trying to
Okay,
rein
no, no.
in.
Let's have it. Let's have it. Let's have it.
I'm trying to rein in my politicalness right now.
Oh my god.
The idea that everyone involved in that Wahala needs to get shanked, top to bottom, needs to get shanked. Because what they did was very mad, very mad.
Okay.
But there's opportunities for second chances. I need to open my eyes. Look at Finn. My sweet summer child was a stormtrooper who was force sensitive. Actually, let me not get into the whole Finn thing because I'm going to start talking about how she should be the protagonist, but it's a conversation for a different day. But Finn was a
Uh
stormtrooper, and but he was innately a good person, right?
huh.
So stranger things can happen. Stranger things can happen. I
Stranger things have
mean,
definitely happened.
stranger things that have been happening in Star Wars. I mean, look at Boba Fett in his show. I mean, he weren't exactly. Actually, no, Boba Fett, the Bad Batch lot. Look at my dogs. Like they were wired. They were to be wired to be evil.
Mm-hmm.
And they saved my little kids. Do you know what I mean? So second chances can happen, right? You can change.
Mm-hmm.
Things can happen. You know, people can reject the empire and stuff, and it's fine. The issue is where you treat someone better due to their position. A stormtrooper, someone low in the ranks, and that doctor. The doctors should be like, I'm not. The doctor is actually worse because you are at the
Most
very,
definitely.
very, 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 very top of this heinous mafia, space mafia. You're a head honcho. You were the most one of the most powerful people involved who weren't in a leader position. You hold all the cards, you hold all the intelligence, and you are probably the biggest indicator of anything. Like you're you're literally their like main chess piece. You're their queen.
Key to their operation.
They're key to the operation. So I understand why they treated him well because you kind of need him on side. So there's a double-edged sword of that. You kind of want to punish him, but at the same time, you've got to keep him slightly on side that you can sway him to your side. But at the same time, like, nah, look what he did to Grogu.
Yeah, exactly. And notice how the people of the quote unquote New Republic aren't saying, "We forgive you for what you did." They're just saying, "I'm glad you're working for us now."
Yeah, you're useful for. It's sort of like Okay, I can't believe I'm using the MCU in this. It's not like what was the name of the doctor in America, the Nazi one who helped Cap.
In Captain America, I don't remember his name, but
Yeah,
I know who you mean.
like Stanley Tucci, there, isn't it? Um,
Hmm.
but he was innately good, and he liked Steve because Steve was innately good, so he wanted to use
Yeah.
his intelligence, his works for a good reason.
Hmm.
I'm not getting it from these lot. These lot are just a diluted version of what Palpatine and Gideon and them man were. Like it's very draconian. It's very much you're not okay. It's not like Obi-Wan. With the true, genuine Jedi's who were seeking democracy and good, like Mace and Obi-Wan and um, what's now his name's gone out of my
Yoda,
head and it's really Yoda. The other one is Liam Neeson. Why can I not remember his name?
Qui-Gon Jinn.
There we go. And Jar Jar Binks. And
Don't do it. They'll come for you. Don't do it. Don't do
oh,
it.
sorry. I wanted to say it so bad. And Ahsoka and early Anakin, very early Clone Wars Anakin. It's not these
Thank you
guys
for
who
the
want
clarification.
democracy. I had to very clarify where I was there. I'm talking Attack of the Clones, Phantom
Hmm.
Menace Anakin. We're not talking what he was doing in the other, yeah, we're not there and Revenge of the Sith. But they're not wanting democracy for genuine good. They're in the position of we don't like the fact you have power. We want your power. It's not okay. We want to dismantle this thing for good and then create a democracy. This is no democracy. A real democracy will have an amnesty program where, of course, you're going to have to try these people who did bad things, but at the same time, give them the free will to choose. Because regardless, Persian didn't choose to be good. You basically strong armed him to be on your side. He didn't choose to be on your side, which means he can still be swayed
Yeah.
to go on the other
Especially
side.
since he still believes that his work was
Was done
correct.
for good, correct. And they're trying to do the whole, someone even said an X Factor sub story, oh, but my mom, and da 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 da. I don't care about your mom. I don't care.
Wow.
That's not a substantial reason to do what you did. It's like if a dictator said, like, imagine if, like, oh, I can't think of one. I'm not using the Austrian guy, but imagine a genocidal maniac comes
The
out and says,
Austrian guy. Oh my
I'm
god, I
not
like
using
you.
him.
That was good. The Austrian guy. That's actually really, really good because half the people will not even know what you mean, but they know what you
That's what I
mean, but
mean.
they don't
But
know
they
what
know
you
what I
mean.
mean.
That's good. That's real good.
But, but imagine like a genocidal maniac dictator. Insert anyone you think of right now. Say the reason why I've killed all these people is because of my mum. You what explanation is that?
It's pretty
What?
wild. Yeah.
It's pretty
Considering
wild.
what they were doing and like like the work involved cloning, it kind of
That's the thing. It's the
just invalidates.
cloning.
Yeah.
It's the you. That's how I knew. you're not at your redemption yet. You're not there. We're in the
He's
first
not.
stage. We're on the first step. So it was like it was in the whole draconian nature of the spy. It felt, I'm probably because I've watched the 9/11 documentary recently, but it felt like, you know how the amped up security post 9/11, the NCA, the NSA, and everyone was being more hyped up, and everyone was watching people more, listening to conversations more. It felt like the New Republic were very much like, okay, like we've got to have boots and ears on the ground. We've got to make sure that there'll be no dissent here, to the very extent that you've now removed free will. You've given people what they presume is free will, but they don't have free will. These people don't have the free will to make a decision to have a second chance. They've been compelled and convinced by you that they think they've changed, but have they
Hmm.
really? Not to the extent, because it's not like in the Bad Batch when they were like, you know what, like this thing we're doing is not right. Or like Rex, when Rex was like, you know what, this thing isn't right.
Yeah.
It's not right. I want to fight for a good thing. He's not there. That's not what I felt watching it. So when you were talking about the draconian nature of it, that's where, my head was going with it, because I'm like, well, there's a lack of free will. This basically feels like what it was before, just painted white.
Yeah.
It's a little
And
bit different.
yeah, Doctor Do Too Much, as I like to call him, is definitely a sucker for punishment. I He was clearly being baited, and I do like the way they framed things, kind of making us have a little bit of s- slight sympathy for him. I think a lot of people might not even necessarily remember all the stuff that he did, but I mean, I have to hand it to his friend Elena. I don't even know if we should be calling her his friend, but it's just she probably was thinking, "Wow, I thought this was going to be a long assignment, but this guy's job is just expediting this process for me." I knew she was a snitch. I always knew from the beginning she was a snitch. She has never done anything good in her life. She looks like
Ever.
a psycho. And I also love the like when she led him there, she knew everything that was going on. I'm like, wow, this is so elaborate. Like, have you ever seen somebody go through such lengths to frame somebody like and be right by their side? And then she collected the thing from him. It just makes me wonder, like, I mean, we probably can't even get into it too much today because there's still so much to be revealed. But it's like, why is she doing this? Like, what is her reason? Who is directing her towards this, and why is she collecting all this stuff? Why did they need that equipment? Was
Gideon.
it just was it to punish, yeah, but was it to punish him, or was it to advance Gideon? Like, is this like to tie up loose ends in terms of the doctor, or is this specifically to do something else, maybe involving Gideon, and then pushing the doctor is just a liability, something that they're kind of using as collateral for that? I mean, I'm going to refrain from like calling her anything too harsh, but like, since you are a psychologist and the listeners and I are very lucky to have a real life psychologist here, I mean, would you like to weigh in? Like, is she a sociopath, is she a psychopath, or is she just mean?
Do you know what? She's just mean. She's just me. I wanted to sit down and be like, you. Like, she's a very cruel person. I was watching her, and she's, in Recess, Randall.
Hmm.
That's the vibe she was giving me. I'm like, you're a snitch. I don't know what
Bro, the
you're
way she was
doing.
eating
I don't
that
know.
biscuit
She would just,
like a wicked person. She would just
she's eating like she's never eaten before. I was like, this is eating like a
bruh.
guilty person. My
Yeah.
spirit wasn't taken to her. Like, this was God telling me my ear, said something isn't right here. You're watching a wicked, wicked person. But I was like, nah, like they can't do this to me. At that point, that's the only time I pitied him, when he got
Hmm.
stitched. When he got stitched, I was like, Mommy, you got me feeling sorry for Grogu's tormentor. Like, this wasn't the plan. This isn't the way. Like,
This
I
isn't
didn't
how it
ask
was
for this to
supposed to,
happen.
this ain't how it's supposed to go.
Like, oh man, like, like, I was just watching her, and I was like, I don't know what is it, but I think this is an elaborate plot. I don't think we've seen the last of Gideon.
Hmm.
She
Definitely.
specifically used him to get all that equipment, like all that lab
Yeah.
stuff. She's trying to help Gideon. I think Gideon has either escaped, is planning to escape, I don't know what he's doing, but I think she's helping him out. I think she's like, what's that? I'm trying to think of a like, sort of like in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack
Uh huh.
Nicholson's character. Like she's sort of
Yeah.
like inside the New Republic, so she's so well
Yeah.
in that she's gonna
Fully
report to go
entrenched.
like she's fully in. These guys think like we've got a foot soldier here. Like you know,
Yeah. I mean,
one of them.
who's going to? Yeah. I mean, who's going to like challenge
Who's
them,
gonna think
or
otherwise?
when they have such people like planted in different places, right? Because
Planted
this
in
was
their
such an
places.
elaborate scheme.
I
Um.
was watching that and I was like, this is gee. I was watching. I'm like, damn, this is so Gideon. You smart. I can think if Gideon, if you're up to this, this is incredible. This is as smart. I remember when I was watching Revenge of the Sith as an adult, like a fully realized adult, and not as the kid I was when it came out. And I
Mhm.
watched it, and I'm like, you know what, Palpatine, I'll give you it. I'll give you it. That's very smart. That's very smart. That you really got in amongst them,
Yeah.
Jen. I was
There
like,
are
I'll give
lots
you a
of
10.
callbacks. Yeah, lots of
Yeah,
callbacks
that's
to
it.
not just Revenge of
Felt
the Sith, but like a bunch of the other earlier movies too, and
Yeah, when
from
they
the
were eating them
prequel
little
trilogy.
popsicles, where they were,
Yeah,
I
and
thought,
even
wow,
those drinks, like the production design is just on point. Like, um, and of course it's a trap, which actually made me laugh out loud. Um, I feel like people don't even know. For anybody who doesn't understand, like there's this Star Wars meme where Admiral Akbar, right? Who is this guy that's like he's basically like a Mon Calamari. It's those and is a species of the person who was doing using the mind flare on Dr. Pershing at the end, right? The guys who look kind of like lobsters but also like squids. Um,
yeah,
so there is a guy, a very popular character from the movies, who at one point they got into like an ambush or something, and then he turns around and goes, "It's a trap." And there's you may or may not have seen this Star Wars meme where like an octopus looking guy or like a fish looking guy is just shouting, "It's a trap." So anytime you see his face, even if you don't see the words, like that's what the person is trying to say. And I can't believe they actually used that meme because Pershing was like, "It's a trap," and then the doctor goes, "Huh?" Like he actually turns his head, and I just thought that was. I was like, "Wow, you guys are playing too much now. A man is on the verge of death here." But moving on to other callbacks, I think one of the bigger ones actually is well, you know, Coruscant, which is famous in Star Wars for being a planet that is entirely a city. Like the entire planet is a city. They refer to it by well, they have a word for that in Star Wars universe, and they use that here in this episode, Ecumenopolis. It's said that Coruscant has a trillion permanent residents, which is mind blowing. But yeah, like lots of stuff happened on Coruscant. Any quick things you wanna tell the people about Coruscant before we talk about our actual Mandalorian friends?
when I saw that popsicle, a tear dropped from my eye. It's like, oof, we're
Yeah,
taking back.
it's
No, I
uh,
think
it's definitely fun to see all the stuff.
it was so fun to see the actual city and
Yeah,
them walking in it. Do you know what? Do you remember the episode of Obi-Wan when Obi-Wan was walking in the city and he was just with little Leia?
yeah,
Yeah, it reminded me of that a little bit. And I'm like, oh, this is so nice. And then all the little callbacks, like the buildings and stuff, even the topical conversation. To be honest, as soon as I saw Coruscant, don't think for about 10 minutes I wasn't paying attention. 'Cause I kept geeking out.
you were just mesmerized by city lights.
I was just like I don't live in London. I'm just like
Oh
this
wow,
because I
oh
never
wow.
really thought that we'd see this. Not in the Mandalorian. I ever thought would happen. Never in a million years I would have ever thought we would see Coruscant on the Mandalorian. So it was a bit of a like,
It's
oh,
full of surprises. It's definitely evidence of what we were alluding to earlier about how this series is expanding. Like it's becoming more sprawling epic than contained Western, and I like seeing that. Um,
actually,
yeah,
I would actually the film I want to talk about is me and you were talking about this before we started recording, and we said we'll talk about it here. What do you think about this elaborate plot of it explaining why Palpatine came back? Because I was
you
watching
know,
it. And I'm like, you guys are just trying to find a way
You
to
know,
explain.
I think you have a point. It's possible that this is them kind of trying to retcon. And if they are retconning, I say go for it. You know, if you can figure out a way to put in a reasonable explanation for why certain things happened that probably should not have happened, then, more power to you. As long as it makes sense, make it make sense. People who come later on at least will have a better explanation of it. They're not going to have to like people who watch any of this stuff later on, whether it's the movies or this show, they're not going to be wondering like what's happening. They're going to have an explanation right there ready for them. So if it makes sense and people of the future will not be able to see any difference and they'll think it was all planned, great. But all I'll say is don't mess up again. Like if you're going to go down this route and bring this up, don't make it worse. That's all I'm going to say. Do not make it worse. Simple as
I was
that.
watching it and I was like, it popped into my head, and I'm like, they're trying to explain Palpatine coming back
Hmm.
a little bit
Yeah.
because I just kept watching it, especially with the cloning and everything, and I just said you're trying to find an explanation because I remember I'm gonna take everyone back. Let's take us everyone back to 2019. Don't know where you were. I was in my last year of university in Nottingham.
Okay.
I paid £10 to go and watch this film. I was
Hmm.
excited a little bit, but I wasn't that excited because I watched the train and I saw Palpatine, and I was like, I'm gonna come into mess. How much mess will I come into? Who knows? And I remember sitting there and I heard the laugh and I saw his nails for the first time in about how old was I when I watched Revenge of the Sith? 2005. So I was 7.
Okay.
I was 21 when The Rise of Skywalker came out. So that's what, 14 years later. I saw him later and I was fuming.
Fuming.
The last time I saw you, you were dead. You were thrown off.
I don't. Yeah, I don't blame you. I literally, I was probably just watching that and thinking, cap. Like I was like, there's no way. Like this cannot be real. Like, or it is real and you guys are just jokers. I don't know. I don't even think about it too much anymore. I think at this point, it's good if people accept it because then
Let them
they
expect
don't
this
have to deal with
explanation.
any inconsistencies.
John Favreau, well done. That's what I'm gonna say. Well done.
Yes.
Because if honestly that explanation, whatever he's trying to do, I makes sense a little bit. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you made like not you made a 5-star meal out of 2-star ingredients. I'll give it to you. I was
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised. Okay, fair enough. Fair
The
enough.
man is skilled.
Oh, the man is
Yes.
skilled. But
Speaking
you're
of
right
John
about the
Favreau and
expanding world.
oh,
Before we go into Din and all his little
uh-huh.
friends and stuff, but I think
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but it felt like I was watching Andor again.
A little bit, yeah, just because of I definitely, especially visually, that place where the doctor has his office, I was like,
Yes.
wow, like who did I see here? Like
What?
there's so many callbacks to all these different properties, and like I said, it's interesting that they're kind of making it feel like different parts of one gigantic show. But yeah, that was cool. That was cool to witness because they're making connections that are subtle, connections that just like add up. It's like, of course, this thing would be in this place at this time, type of thing. You know,
Yeah. But let's
uh,
talk about
yeah,
the lead guy and his new co-star, because Bo Katan generally
interesting.
is beast
That's how you
coded,
want to see it. I
to be
mean,
honest.
I thought it was sensible, and well, I had a strong feeling really that the episode would be structured in the way it was. Having them at the beginning because I had a feeling that Pershing would be in the episode since they talked about people like seeking amnesty.
Yeah.
So I figured they would kind of sandwich it, which they did. So it kind of leaves you wondering what the real connections are. I'm guessing the best place to start is the title of the episode, which, by the way, was written by John Favreau and Noah Clore and directed by Lee Isaac Chung. The episode is called "The
The
Convert."
Mind of Minari. If you've never seen it, please, I implore you, watch it.
Yep. Um, I think "The Convert" stands in contrast to the title of episode 1, chapter 17, which is "The Apostate." um, it makes sense that they would run into that covert from episode one, or rather that they would run there to escape. I had a feeling that the convert in question would be Bo Katan, but it also refers to the Doctor most likely, except that he's being converted against his will. And in a sense, Bo Katan is being converted against her will too,
against
but
her
like she's
will.
not being forced to to do anything. I think that's a thematic connection that they want us to make. This is kind of about, free will and the exploration of belief and allegiance. I think over time, Bo Katan might actually come to accept these core beliefs of the way as her own. In a sense, it's beautiful how the armorer is so technical. As long as you meet all the basic requirements, she just accepts you. She's like, "Were you in the water? Yes. Have you taken off your helmet? No. You're good. You
You're
join
good.
us. Whether or not you want to be one of us, you're one of us."
You're one of
Paz
us.
Vizsla clearly doesn't trust them yet because he's a bit more of a skeptical guy. But
He's like, "Where's the water?"
I yeah, exactly. I knew that water when Din collected the water, I was like, okay, that's definitely a smart idea. But then it got me thinking, like, isn't it wild how they don't have cameras in Star Wars? Like all this futuristic space tech, complete with
There's no
holograms, and we've never seen
CCTV.
anyone hold the lens. Like, tell me why we're not watching a show where this guy can just pull out something with the lens, take a picture of these waters, and be like, "Look, I was here." Instead, he has to like carry water. That's just so
Carry
dramatic.
water.
I don't know.
What if Grogu accidentally drank that as well?
Exactly. Though I feel like he would know not to. He's learning, but yeah, back in the day, he definitely would have done that. Speaking of which, she didn't tell him about the mythosaur. Is she shady after all, or does she simply not? Like, does she just want to stay in denial because?
This is what I wanted to talk to you about. So I thought I was waiting for her. Like, are you gonna tell him? Are you gonna tell him? Because this is the one thing. Like, okay, let's put this like me and you, right? If you saw, for example, I have a weird theory that I think the Loch Ness monster is real. I don't know that I've got nothing to back me up here,
How
but
very
if I ever
English of you.
saw it, I know I'm sorry. The Scottish would be very angry if you heard that. Cheap. Just think
I know it's
some
English of you to think it's real because the Scottish firmly believe it's not.
and there's maybe some Scots who believe it. Small part of me, I'm like, if I ever saw it, I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be like, okay. I'm not heavily believing in it. I'm not a full believer, but if I saw it, I wouldn't be that surprised. And then if
Hmm.
you saw it and then you didn't tell me, then I found out you didn't tell me, I'd be fuming. I'd be like,
I'd be like, why would you hide something like
why
that?
would you
Like,
hide something? Like, why are you being
what is
so
what is your deal?
shady?
What is your
What's your
agenda?
deal? Like, what's your agenda here? Because I kept thinking that I think Bo Katan is stuck in two minds, right?
Hmm.
She likes Grogu. He
Okay.
don't like her.
Grogu doesn't like her though, but yeah, okay.
And then I think she likes Din genuinely as a person,
Uh huh.
his
She
morals and
respects him at the
everything.
very least.
She respects him. I think he reminds her of her dad. I think
Okay.
that's why she respects him. However, she wants power. And I think she knows the only way to get into the position she wants to get into and wield the dark saber and actually be the ruler of Mandalore and be who you want to be is you've got to rub some elbow grease. You've got to get yourself amongst in there. And if you got these people on sides, then you'll be able to oust Din. Because the only thing Din had against her was that he had, regardless of what he did in his sin,
Hmm.
now that he's been purged, obviously he's now purged and he's clean, but pre purging, he always had the respect of everyone else due to the way he's been raised. I think she knew that I need everyone on side here for me to rule.
Yeah.
I don't think she's fully converted. I think Persian's probably converted more than she has, to be honest.
I mean, they flayed his
I
mind,
think,
so yes.
yeah, they flayed his mind, so yeah, now he's fully there. But I don't think Bo Katan is. I think she's still got a lot of 99.9% of her resistance there, and I think it'll come to a point where there's going to be a bit of a power play between her respecting Din
Hmm.
and not wanting to step on his toes like that, but at the same time, she wants to be in a position of power. She wants what he has,
It'll take time
and it's
for sure.
it would take time because I think the fact that they sort of positioned her to sort of be the co-star alongside Din, because the way I ended the episode, I'm like, ah, you're the co-lead.
Right.
It's you and him
Okay.
and Grogu. Obviously, she's slightly below. You're not on the same level. You know, Din's my guy. Like, you know, I'm if I'm gonna pick someone, I'm gonna pick him and Grogu over anyone else. But I thought it
Yeah.
was very interesting how she didn't tell him because I think in her head I don't know it's the way she thinks. I don't know if she thinks by telling him she's strengthening his position more because he's always believed in these things. He's always had these beliefs in the mythical, more fantasy
Yeah.
elements of Mandalore, and she never has. And if she tells him that she's seen it, now he's like, oh, so you, the skeptic, has now also seen it, which means then I think in a way it'll probably make Din think maybe I am meant to be in this position. Maybe I was positioned to be here, and this is actually my duty, and I need to follow up to it. Because I'm like, there's got to be a reason as to why he didn't tell him. Because Boba Fett would have told him in that position.
Yeah, but Boba Fett is
Um,
different. I think Boba Fett is, I don't know, he's a different type of person, and he's always looking out for people that might be his allies. Whereas like Bo Katan, I mean, sure, she looks out for her allies, but she is a little bit more subdued in what she's willing to kind of reveal in terms of her cards. I think she likes having a little bit of power, and she likes having something that she can use, and that's just like in her nature. But yeah, we'll see where it goes for sure, because I like that they're forming this little I guess alliance and this little mini family slash camaraderie unit with the three of them, and I guess R5D4, the droid too. Um, Still though, like it shines in the way they fight, and these people died, well, almost died quite a few times in the first few minutes of this episode. I think Dinjarin really knows how to use the Starfighter, and that was really fun to
hey
see. Like he knows how
yo,
to maneuver, knows how to, like he that was nice to see him use.
who's
You
Anakin
know,
in this game?
right? Like
He said,
he's
let's have some
literally
fun.
like, yeah, he was really using everything to his advantage. I mean, I don't think I've seen anybody use like pilot like that in a long time. And you know, Bo-Katan was a great pilot too. Like that thing she was flying was not necessarily easy to fly in that kind of combat. So I think it's nice to see the two Mandalorians that we know are, you know, skilled at fighting actually fighting together. That was
Even the
nice.
direction of those scenes in the air, on the ground, back into hyperspace, like the way it was done was.
Yeah,
I want him to direct. I hope he's. I don't. I'm gonna check if he's directing more of the episodes. That was perfect.
the visual effects
That
were
was.
crazy, directing on point,
They've got
everything like the
budget.
storyboarding mad. It was just so good to see. Even I mean, even the fact that when he dropped off the ship right to get to his own, and like he with the fact that he landed a little bit haphazardly, like when he got off the jetpack,
Yeah,
like it was nice to see that physics is still a thing here. That Beskar isn't plot armor. You know, I love to see these things being put to good use. And you know, it wasn't easy for them. They triumphed, but then her place gets bombed, and I really want to know who was trying to get them. Like who bombed
he's
that castle in Kalevala?
who bombed
I
like
don't know. Like it's really it's something I'm not sure we will be getting soon. I mean, maybe in the next episode, but I think it's a big point. But as far as highlights go, I mean that was a low point for her. But as far as highlights go, you know, being accepted back with the Mandalorians, whether or not she wanted to, I think is probably a good thing for her. And you know, for us, you know, we did get Grogu kind of saying this is the way. Did he almost say you have his first
yeah,
words?
yes,
That was
even when he
that was
said
something.
even I paused and I rewinded 10 seconds back. I said, "Did you just say cook, cook, cook," as in this is the way?"
He
Because
did.
Even then was like, wait, like did you
Like, did you see that? Did you hear that? Am I going mad?
am I going mad? Just the way he
Yeah,
broke
yeah,
it down, we're
that
like,
that was good.
nah, he's
It's
too
about time he started
oh.
talking. He's like 50 years old. So
Do you know what? Yeah, I need him to open his mouth now. I need to hear the way this is. I need to hear something. Like,
it'll happen
I,
soon.
it,
Maybe by the end of the
watching him.
season, we'll
I
get him
swear,
starting
I
to
do you know
speak
the way it's
actual
gonna be.
words.
It's gonna be the show will end, and then he's gonna be like, he did. That would be his. Actually, I want his first world to be like. I don't know what I want his first world to be now. I want it to be something in not like. I don't want it to be like a deep thing. I want it to be like I don't know, like if like him wanting a biscuit or
Hmm.
him wanting pog or him wanting. I want it to be. It's like if you said R5D4, like I want it to be something so stupid. I don't want it to be a deep thing when he goes, oh, the way this is, or this is the way, which would be cute. But so I kind of like the way he did it when he was just gurgling, and but then didn't obviously knew what he was trying to say.
Yeah,
But I want it to be something like, let's not make it deep and kumbaya, kumbaya. Let him say something stupid.
makes sense. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where things go with that. We can probably stop for now and
Yeah.
have everyone go listen to a bunch of the other things that have been covered recently, including your. I don't know how you've been going into the mind of Joe Goldberg. I don't know how you're okay, but everybody should go listen to Priscilla talk about you and Cocaine Bear as well. Which I mean, everybody knows she wants to fight a gorilla now, but I think I think that you need to answer for your crimes. But definitely, everybody should definitely listen to that and watch the movie. Cocaine Bear apparently grossed $28 million globally in its opening weekend. So yeah,
It's a very, very just think Winnie the Pooh on Coke and then
that's what
watch it.
that's even scarier than the Cocaine Bear. I'm sorry, it just is. But yeah, I guess we're just gonna hand it off to our football correspondents at AFC Richmond as they bring you in on the season 3 premiere of Ted Lasso. The final season. Let's see how
Go
things go.
Lasso. Down with West
Can't wait.
Ham.
Down with. First of all, always down with West Ham. It was always down with West Ham,
It's
even
always
before
down with
Ted
West
Lasso.
Ham, but it's down with West Ham even more.
Ugh, Nate the Great. More
We
like
ain't
Nate the
Team Nate
Hate.
here.
Rubbish.